Four in the corner, keeping an eye on Hurricane Matthew and how it's affecting southwest Florida. Four in the corner's Deborah Souverain has been spending much of today in Hendry County, from Walmart to hotels that are full to people putting in sandbags, and we're checking in live with her to see what's going on in Hendry now. Deborah?
Yeah, a lot of commotion, everyone really trying to hurry up and get everything in place before we start to see those severe winds. The wind has definitely picked up in the last half hour. We're seeing a lot more strong gust of wind. In fact, I had to put on my jacket because it got a little bit cold. We're not seeing as much of the rain anymore. The rain has definitely settled down, but the wind has definitely picked up. And that's why hotel officials here are doing whatever they can to try to get everyone inside quickly over the next 2 hours, to try to get everyone into their rooms booked, anyone who's had a room checked in so that they are inside before we start to see those severe winds. And I just want to give you a look, just kind of pan so you can see a little bit better how the winds are kind of flowing. Look at the palm trees. It gives you an idea. They're not too strong just yet. And again, we're still a few hours out from when we're expecting to see those strong winds come through this area. But again, things have definitely picked up over the past half an hour, and we're going to stay out here and keep you updated. I think we'll be out here for about an hour more before we head over to the shelter. So for now, I'm going to send it back to you. We're live in Clewiston. Deborah Souverain, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right, thank you so much, Deborah. Tonight, the National Hurricane Center warning that Hurricane Matthew remains, quote, extremely dangerous. This is according to the scientists at the National Hurricane Center. The deadly storm continuing to head toward Florida. It's passed by Haiti, where it was especially deadly, Cuba, the Bahamas. Forecasters warning it'll likely remain a powerful Category 4 storm when it hits the U.S. Remember, 5 is the worst, so 4 is pretty powerful. That's what Charlie was in 2004. Federal officials fearing it could leave parts of Florida without power for weeks now. Correspondent Joel Waldman is in Savannah, Georgia tonight, monitoring the latest developments.
Roughly 2 million people along the southeast coast of the U.S. are being warned to head inland from Florida to South Carolina and here in Georgia.
What the scientists tell us is that this is likely the largest and most powerful hurricane to hit the United States in a decade or so.
With Hurricane Matthew roaring back up to Category 4 strength and packing 140-mile-an-hour winds, President Obama declared an emergency in Florida, ordering federal aid to supplement local storm response efforts and authorizing federal agencies to take action.
There are those who doubt the intensity or severity of the storm. They need only look at the images that are coming back from Haiti.
Matthew has already slammed parts of the Caribbean. In Haiti alone, it has left more than 100 dead. Back home, National Guard troops have been called up. Many senior citizens and hospital patients in coastal areas are being moved inland.
Evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. Are you willing to take a chance to risk your life?
With gas, food, and other staples now in short supply in many places and hundreds of flights canceled, thousands are choosing to take advantage of emergency shelters.
So it's too risky to stay, and just wanted to stay safe and really hope we have the grace to accept the aftermath.
Here in Georgia, the state's entire coast is under a mandatory evacuation, with storm surge predicted between 7 and 11 feet. In Savannah, Georgia, Joel Waldman, Fox News.
President Obama has declared a federal state of emergency for more than 24 counties in Florida, and tonight he also declared a state of emergency for the state of South Carolina as well. Now, our local one includes Hendry and Glades County here in southwest Florida. The Department of Homeland Security and FEMA will be coordinating relief efforts to help anyone who is affected by the storm. The president also recently adding again South Carolina to that emergency declaration ahead of Hurricane Matthew.
Happening right now, police in St. Augustine, that's just south of Jacksonville, patrolling neighborhoods, announcing with bullhorns the area is now under a mandatory evacuation notice as Hurricane Matthew approaches that part of the state as well. Some people, though, are still in the area trying to brave the storm in their homes. About 1.5 million people in Florida have been told to go inland as this dangerous and life-threatening Category 4 storm makes its way toward our state.
Now, in Lee County, the Emergency Operations Center is partially activated for the next 24 hours. So this is to open shelters for anyone who's fleeing from Florida's East Coast. And as we've been hearing from our reporters in the field, for example, at FGCU's Alico Arena, the shelter already has 150 people, about 23 people at the shelter in Glades County. Lee County is not, of course, in the direct path of Matthew, but as Derek's been telling us, Lee County could still experience, as well as Collier County, some strong winds and rain associated with the storm.
If you're hitting the roads or someone's coming over from the East Coast, you don't have to pay tolls. The governor's saying the tolls have been suspended. This includes the Florida Turnpike and Alligator Alley. 3,000 people are in shelters right now. The shelters are opening as needed. We should mention, though, Leeway in our area, they're still collecting the tolls because there's no need to close down the bridges. As we've been reporting, schools in DeSoto County, Hendry County, Glades County, all going to be closed tomorrow because of Hurricane Matthew. But as of tonight, school in Charlotte, Collier, and Lee counties will all be open tomorrow. Lee County schools telling us after-school activities will also go on as usual tomorrow. And for our local universities and colleges, classes are canceled at Florida Gulf Coast University today and tomorrow. FSW campuses in Glades and Hendry County remain closed through tomorrow as well, but the FSW campuses in Lee, Charlotte, and Collier counties will remain open.
All right, the Bahamas is the latest country getting hit by Hurricane Matthew as it's making its way through the Atlantic. The outer band started hitting very early this morning, and now, as Derek showed us, the eye of the storm is approaching land. 4 in your corner's Charlie Keegan showing us what the Bahamas look like tonight.
I'm on Paradise Island near Nassau in the Bahamas, and the worst of Hurricane Matthew is now behind us. We've been able to open up our window here, or the balcony of our hotel. We had it shut for most of the day as those Category 4 winds were pushing in on this hotel and on the entire city. Now, right now, the breeze has really lit up significantly. Not much of a breeze to worry about at all. The rain is still coming down, pretty good downpour at this exact moment. We're trying to gather details about exactly what kind of damage this hurricane did to the Bahamas, and specifically to Nassau, where the most populated island and city in the Bahamas. We know power is out in most of Nassau, including in our hotel, but we have a generator that is keeping things running at this point. We know that there are still threats of storm surge that could push those tides up over the beach and into the roads and into homes and flood out areas along the coast here. That was one of the major concerns. What I can tell you now is that the worst of the hurricane has moved on past Nassau, moving up now toward Florida. From the Bahamas, I'm Charlie Keegan.
All right, thank you so much for that report from the Bahamas. Governor Scott updating you now on what's going on with Hurricane Matthew.
Let's take a listen.
If you're in Brevard County or north of Brevard County and in an evacuation zone, you still have time to leave. Get out. There's no reason to take a chance. It just doesn't make any sense. At 5 p.m., Hurricane Matthew was located 100 miles southeast of West Palm Beach, with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles an hour. Just stop and think about that. 140 miles an hour. It remains a Cat 4. Some slight fluctuations in intensity are likely while the hurricane moves towards the coast of Florida. But Matthew is likely to produce devastating impacts from storm surge, extreme winds, and heavy rains along portions of the East Coast tonight. This storm's a monster. Again, protecting life is our #1 priority. Impacts of Hurricane Matthew are as follows. Heavy rain up to 12 inches along the East Coast. And just remember, in storms like this, you'll get a band and get more. And when you get those bands, you get immediate flooding. Strong rip currents, beach erosion, the risk of tornadoes, hurricane force winds, Just remember that, hurricane force winds. Storm surge, think about this, 11 feet possible of storm surge. You're standing on the ground, 11 feet. Stop and think about that, 11 feet of storm surge. And on top of that, waves. So in your house, if you're close, you could have the storm surge and waves over your roof. Storm surge will also go along the St. Johns and St. Mary's River. If you live along these rivers, please listen for evacuation orders. Do not surf, do not be on the beach. Nobody should be on a Florida beach on the East Coast tonight. Nobody should be on the beach. Nobody should be surfing. People are still on the beach tonight in Jacksonville. Get off the beach. Indian River County all the way to the Florida-Georgia line will have winds exceeding 100 miles per hour. As of now, Volusia and Brevard will have the highest wind strengths. That's a projection. Inland counties like Seminole and Orange will also have hurricane-force winds. Inland will have hurricane-force winds. Remember, these are projections and it can get worse. I just spoke with General Turner from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I will be requesting the following from FEMA, and they'll work with the Army Corps of Engineers: temporary power, temporary roofing, debris removal crews, and structural assessment crews. This afternoon, I also asked the President for additional generators and pumps to help with power outages and flooding once the storm hits. We're going to have power outages. We're going to have a lot of power outages. We can expect to see lots of flooding, especially in northeast Florida, and we will need additional pumping equipment from the federal government. Based on the continued strong track to Florida, I've activated 3,500 National Guards members. This is over 50% of the available troops. This is the most I've ever had to activate. Protecting lives remains our #1 priority. That is, I've continued to activate more troops for life-saving missions. They're pre-positioned all across the state. Many are helping people evacuate right now for safety. We also have many at our shelters. In the immediate aftermath of the storm, they will be deployed to perform search and rescue operations along with Fish and Wildlife. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission also has high water vehicles pre-positioned across the state to help with these efforts. The state has food and water pre-positioned all across the state. Once the storm passes an area, we will bring it in. Each county has a designated plan on how to distribute these resources. Around 1.5 million are under evacuation orders. More areas were mandated this afternoon. Roads are still open for evacuation. I know hotels in the state are filling up. You can visit Expedia.com/Florida. This is a special page they've developed so you can find an open hotel during the storm. As you drive, the Department of Transportation has informational signs that denote when hotels are filled at exits. So if you see a sign that says it's filled, don't stop. There's no hotels open. You're going to have to go to the next exit. You'll find a sign. We're getting signs up where the shelters that are open are. So if you can't get to a hotel, go to a shelter. We've got shelters open across the state. It might not be the nicest accommodation, but probably is a much safer accommodation than your house or your apartment. We currently have 130 shelters open across the state. More and more people are going to them tonight. We do not have any capacity issues at our shelters. We do not have capacity issues at our shelters. We had over 3,000 people in our shelters last night, and we'll get an updated number at midnight tonight. We do an update every night. If you're in North Florida, if you're in Brevard going north, you still have time to evacuate. You don't have a lot of time, but you have time to evacuate. Again, you might not want to sit in a shelter, but it might be the difference between life and death. Curfews. They're in place for portions of Orange, Duval, St. Johns, and Seminole counties. They're in place to protect you and to keep communities safe. Listen to the curfews. They're there for your safety. Follow them. It will help law enforcement stay focused on life-saving operations. If you have questions on curfews, please call your sheriff's office. Traffic. I-10 westbound out of Jacksonville has experienced congestion, but continues to move. The State Department of Transportation has been following all the evacuation routes all day long, and they're doing everything they can to speed them up and to make sure they're continuing to move. Department of Transportation and Highway Safety are working together to make sure all of our evacuation routes are moving. And they're also showing alternate routes. I-4 westbound between Orlando and Tampa has congestion, but continues to move. Traffic on 528 is moving quickly now between Brevard and Orlando. If you are concerned about safe routes, visit fl511.com. You can see traffic patterns and accidents. Anything is on there to pick a safe route, the best route. Floridians and visitors, you can go to FloridaEvacuates.com or download the Florida Evacuates app to enter your location and see shelters available in your area. Flights have been canceled. All flights have been canceled in Miami, Orlando, and Fort Lauderdale. There are no power outages at this time. There are no major power outages. There's some power outages, but it's very minor. Miami, 6,800 people without power, which is only about 1%. Brevard County, 2,200 people without power. This is about 1%. I'll go through these, but let me tell you, you're going to lose power. We're going to lose power. Broward County, 5,600 people are without power. This is only 1%. Palm Beach County, about 4,800 people are without power. It's only about 1%. We are going to lose power, and we're not going to lose power for a short period of time. Fuel. There are no reported fuel issues on our interstates or on the turnpike. Earlier today, I directed Department of Transportation to send fuel resources to gas stations on Alligator Alley. There were reported issues there, and DOT has already solved them. Individual gas stations are seeing fuel shortages, but they're temporary. They are being quickly refueled, and fuel is readily available around the state. The current fuel supply in the state, even if all ports are closed, is nearly 6 days. Take the fuel you need, nothing more than the fuel for the next person. So everybody has the opportunity to have the fuel that they need. Hospitals. Hospitals along the East Coast have been evacuated for the past 2 days. Luckily, we have not had any issues. We're also still seeing evacuations that are nursing homes. Help each other. You can go to Text FL Prepares. Excuse me. Text FL Prepares, one word, to 888-777. And you'll get updates from the State Emergency Response Team. FL Prepares, one word, at 888-777, and you'll get updates. It can save your life. If you got a smartphone, enable it in your settings to receive emergency messages. The National Hurricane Center will be pushing life-saving messages out during the storm. You will hear a loud noise when they come through, and it's loud. Do not ignore them. They could save your life. Don't turn them off. As much as they might bother you, they could be life-saving. Everybody needs to remember these things. First off, we've asked people for days now to be prepared. But now this is going to hit, and let's think about what we're going to do afterwards. We're going to have down power lines. Don't come close. Watch your kids. Let them know. Don't touch a power line. They could be live. Stay away from them. Don't drive or walk into standing water. Either one. Don't go into standing water. Don't go outside during the storm. Think about it. We're going to have hurricane-force winds. Think about the debris that's going to be flying around the state. We've all watched it on the Weather Channel, the debris around hurricanes and around tropical storms. There's going to be debris flying. Don't go outside during the storm. Don't take a chance. Don't go outside to see what it's like. If you see a tornado, if you hear of a tornado approaching, go into an interior room and hunker down. I grew up in the Midwest. We had tornadoes all the time. That's what we always had to do. Do not operate a generator in your house. Do not operate a generator in your house. The generators all have to stay outside. If you've evacuated, only return when you've been told you can return. Don't try to return before that. Local officials will let you know when it's okay. Look, everybody's going to do their part to keep you healthy, keep you safe, keep you alive. That's our #1 priority. But you've got to do your part also. If you have any concerns about your safety, call your local sheriff. They're there to take care of you. They are staffed, and they can help you. I'm going to be here at the State Emergency Operations Center tonight, and we'll continue to get briefed by the state meteorologist. And I'm going to pray for everybody's safety. I know I've been traveling the state for the last 4 days. I've been working even before that to start talking about getting prepared. We have a great team here. We've got a great team locally. People have really done their job. I hope everybody's taken precautions. I hope everybody, if you're still thinking about evacuating and you're in an evacuation zone, you're Barren Island, you're a place where you know it's subject to flooding, get out. Don't take a chance. But I can tell you this, the county and the state are working hard, and after this hits, they're going to work very hard to restore this state, get everybody their power back, and get everybody back to a normal life. I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Governor, after what could be a $50 billion storm, potentially even more than that, how prepared is the Florida Cat Fund to deal with destruction that might be left behind?
Let's think about, we made a lot of progress. I mean, first off, you look at citizens.
All right, you've been listening live here on Fox 4 special coverage of Hurricane Matthew. Governor Rick Scott giving again serious warnings for people, especially along the east coast of Florida, to look at Hurricane Matthew as a potentially deadly event. And that first question coming from reporters as he broke into the question and answer session was about the expense of the storm, which could be a $50 billion storm, according to that reporter's question. But remember, other states are included in this, and just within the past 30 minutes or so, President Obama has actually declared an emergency situation in South Carolina as well. So now the coast of Georgia and South Carolina all looking at this storm as big problems, and we're looking at a total of 2 million Americans who are evacuating. 1.5 million of those are in Florida. We want to shift our coverage now to Palm Beach County. It has been the epicenter of the attention so far. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out with the storm itself. Derek Beasley has been telling us it's likely to do more damage north of Palm Beach County, but they're certainly seeing their share of weather in the meantime. 4 Under Corner's Lisa Greenberg live in West Palm with a look. Lisa?
Well, Patrick, as the sun goes down, the wind and the rain are ramping up. It is very windy out here. In fact, you can see that there are a group of people standing out front of our hotel. If you veer this way, they were out here taking pictures and getting their last snapshots of what's going on out here, because our hotel is actually going to lock down at 7:30. No one will be allowed in. No one will be allowed out. They're doing that because as the storm approaches, the wind and the rain is going to continue to pick up around here. And they want to make sure that everyone that's staying at this hotel is staying safe. They're kept inside where it's locked up. They have the hurricane shutters up all on the first floor. The 10 floors above it all have hurricane windows. So everyone's really prepared there. They have a generator that will run when the power runs out to really keep these people safe out here. So that's what's good to hear about that. A lot of the people here are saying, you know, that they were here on vacation or they came here on a business trip and really weren't expecting to have to deal with a Category 4 hurricane and these kinds of windy, rainy conditions. I mean, look over here. You can see that the trees are starting to shake. It is extremely windy out here, but we also know that this is just the beginning. It's certainly going to get much worse in just a matter of hours, and we will continue to be either out here or inside the hotel bringing you the latest information and bringing you consistent updates on what's going on here in West Palm, so make sure to stick with us. We're now reporting live from West Palm Beach. Lisa Greenberg, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right, we continue to watch Hurricane Matthew, which is now moving closer to the Florida coast, spreading rain bands inland now. And you saw from some of the live shots there from our sister station over in West Palm, we are seeing some tropical storm force winds sustained in parts of the East Coast right now along the I-95 corridor, including West Palm at the present time. You can see the showers just kind of rotating their way westward across the region, and we'll continue to see this here for the next several hours. Really, other than that, though, there's not much going on here over most of southwest Florida, and that certainly is not surprising considering the action, or at least the worst part of the storm, of course, is going to be really the worst area that's going to see the worst weather is going to be up towards areas nearest the core when that begins to come closer to the coast. And you can see there it is right there. There's some indications, though, that this thing is the eye wall is trying to firm up, as there actually looks like there's one inner eye and then another eye. There's actually two what we call wind maxima in there. There's actually 2 areas of stronger winds associated with this double eye wall structure. And it's also taken these little wobbles. Notice that it pushed northward towards Freeport, made a wobble towards the west. Now it looks like it's making a jog back towards the north. So we may be seeing that stair-step type of configuration there with the eye as it continues to make its way towards the coast over the next several hours. So again, across southwest Florida, not much else going on other than a few light showers just kind of spreading their way across the region. The winds really aren't too bad at this point, as you can see through Fort Myers and down towards Gateway and Fort Myers Beach, just a little bit of light rain. Also some heavier rain, not heavy, but heavier than what we just saw earlier from Bonita Springs down towards Naples. And we're looking at some light showers through sections of Highlands County now, Sebring down towards Lake Placid. But the weather there going to be going downhill, especially after midnight tonight. We really think the worst of this for those areas, particularly the counties closest to Lake Okeechobee, Highlands, Glades, Hendry County, Clewiston, Moorhaven, Palmdale, Buckhead Ridge, up towards Lake Placid and Sebring. Going to be seeing, again, the worst of the weather here as the storm makes its way a little bit closer. You can see the winds in Clewiston at 21 sustained. There are some gusts there getting up to around 28 miles an hour in Port Charlotte, but we really haven't seen any 30 and 40 mile an hour wind gusts in a while. There was a 40 mile an hour wind gust earlier this afternoon in Fort Myers with a band that pushed through, but haven't seen anything close to that since then. As you can see, the storm looks fairly organized here on satellite. A very large blob of red here indicating what we call a central dense overcast, the CDO, if you will. It's just a large cloud shield that is associated with the thunderstorms. And what happens is when the cloud shield actually becomes very round here and the eye becomes right in the middle of it, it becomes embedded in it, is when you typically see signs of strengthening. And we're getting some indications now that it may be trying to get a little bit stronger here as it gets a little bit closer. You can see the eye there crossing over the west end of Grand Bahama near Freeport. It is going to continue on that northwestward trek towards the Florida coast. The hurricane hunters have been out there flying around and still reporting some data there, and the lowest pressure found about 935 millibars, and maximum sustained winds remain at 140 as of the 7 o'clock advisory. So this is the position update. Not an advisory. They aren't going to adjust the track until later on tonight, but I don't anticipate the track changing much. But as you can see, 26.4 degrees north, 78.8 degrees west, moving towards the northwest at 13 miles an hour with the pressure again right around 939 millibars there. We do expect the pressure to drop a little bit more as we're getting some indications that that is happening with some of the recon data. You see the track there. Closest approach towards the Florida coast is going to be late tonight and through the first part of tomorrow. Really for most of tomorrow as it gets up towards the Space Coast and up towards the First Coast. And that's what Governor Scott was talking about. This is the scenario that is one of those nightmare scenarios, if you will, for east central and northeast Florida. This part of the state has not seen anything of this magnitude as far as a storm of this strong. And it's going to produce a significant storm surge, a potentially catastrophic storm surge for parts of the Florida coast here. Getting off towards the north of West Palm. Now, the hurricane warning remains in effect for all of the Florida East Coast with the exception of Miami-Dade County. We're also looking at that tropical storm watch that's included for parts of southwest Florida, but right now that has not been upgraded to a warning, and I do not anticipate sustained tropical storm force winds that would be 40 or higher across our part of the state, with the exception of this area here in the tropical storm warning, where we could see, particularly closest to the lake, where we could see those gusts getting up to 50, 60 miles an hour, maybe even some gusts up to 70, and sustained winds into the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. That won't be until later on tonight. Projected wind field, large area of yellow indicating the tropical storm force winds, the red showing the hurricane force wind field as it tracks towards the north and west. So you can see how the tropical storm force winds, the sustained tropical storm force winds, will begin spreading onshore as the system gets a little bit closer to us. Conditions, though, are going to improve rapidly by mid to late morning tomorrow from south to north as the storm moves away. The really bad weather is going to be up towards North Florida and up into parts of the North Peninsula there in the First Coast. But things here in southwest Florida and most of South Florida actually are going to improve nicely. This is the latest computer model forecast track. As you can see, this updates every hour, and it gives us an idea of what the computers think the system's going to do. And you can see the track headed off towards the north and west here, getting around Fort Pierce and north of West Palm, with basically sitting right on the coast here by 3 o'clock in the morning, and that gradually lifts northward. And just a few showers expected tomorrow afternoon, but conditions should improve significantly here by tomorrow evening. So again, tonight, most of us will see 10 to 20 mile an hour winds, some clouds, a few showers, strongest winds, Glades, Hendry County, and into sections of inland Collier, and then improving conditions here by tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. We'll be right back.
Jason, it's time for our designer bridal sale.
This year is as big as ever, as the Diamond District welcomes many top designers, including A. Jaffe, Gabriel & Company, Simon G., and many more.
The Diamond District will be filled wall to wall with engagement rings and GIA loose certified diamonds. And this weekend only, the 8th and 9th, you'll receive 20% off your engagement ring and 12 months interest-free financing.
Over 5,000 engagement rings at manufacturer pricing, straight from the source. This weekend only at the Diamond District.
I came to hear Donald Trump's business plan for America.
It's really cool to hear him speak the truth. Tells it like it is.
Make America great. As a guy who's at the international student, Trump is speaking out the truth.
He wants to make America great, and that's what I want to.
We have a country that we're proud of and that we love and that we're not going to lose. There is an assault on everything that we stand for, and we're going to stop the assault. We will make America great again. I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
The Trail Cafe and Grill is truly homemade food with the freshest ingredients. It's time for lunch with Mom's Meatloaf, a variety of sandwiches, or a wonderful Cobb salad. Breakfast and homemade pastries offered 7 days a week. Trail Cafe and Grill, home style that'll make you smile.
In your corner, continuing our coverage of Category 4 Hurricane Matthew as it continues to approach the east coast of Florida. People on the east coast are bracing for this storm as they get home on this Thursday night. A lot of them even heading over to southwest Florida to our side of the state trying to seek shelter. Hotels across the area are booked, as far from Collier County all the way up through Lee County and parts of Charlotte County. We do have multiple shelters open throughout the area. Lee, Hendry, Glades, and Charlotte County all have shelters open. One of them at Florida Gulf Coast University, Alico Arena, has over 100 people already, many from the East Coast. 4 in Your Corner's Jillian Idle has been live at the shelter for several hours now, and she's been talking to families there about why they decided to evacuate. Jillian?
And Amy, that's right. Get this. So last time we checked in with you, there was about 100 people here at this shelter. But since then, there's now more than 200 people checked in here. Now, we're not allowed to go inside due to several reasons, but we are outside, as you can see. Hopefully, there are still some people checking in. It is starting to sprinkle outside. So a lot of people who were hanging outside here, they have gone inside to the shelter. Now, I do want to show you the parking lot so you can see just how many cars are here. Now, throughout the several hours we've been here, there's people bringing pretty much all their belongings from the East Coast, packing their cars with blankets, pillows, personal belongings, some family photos, just bringing it all into the shelter. Now, I've been talking to people from as far south as Miami, all the way up through the Treasure Coast. Tons of people here. Also, we did just see Congressman Clausen come into this shelter just a little bit ago. He's actually talking to people, but we're going to see if we can talk to him here in a little bit. But we have been talking to lots of people evacuating from the East Coast. Some have gone through hurricanes before. Also, some people, though, say this is their first time. They don't know what to expect. But as soon as they heard that evacuations were happening on that East Coast, they quickly made their way here. They said there are signs along the highway directing them to this shelter. Again, though, they said there's room for about 1,200 people here. And right now, they're just a little bit more than 200. So definitely some room still for people looking for that safe place. So if you do know any friends or family heading from the East Coast to this side of Florida, definitely you'll want to let them know there's lots of room here at Alico Arena on Florida Gulf Coast University's campus. But for now, reporting live in Fort Myers, Jillian Idle, Fox 4 in your corner.
All right, thank you, Jillian. So we do want to give you a full list of all of the shelters across Southwest Florida in case you, your family, perhaps on the East Coast, wants to come over and evacuate. Clewiston Middle School is open tonight for anyone who needs to go there, as well as LaBelle Middle School. Both of those, obviously, in Hendry and Glades County. In Lee County, the arena, the Estero Recreation Center is open. That one is pet friendly. Obviously, Alico Arena, where Jillian just was, in Harold Avenue Park Recreation Center in Charlotte County. If you're in Charlotte County, you can go to Harold Ave. So those are a list of shelters there. So our Adam Pinsker has been driving around Southwest Florida, US 27 in particular, out towards LaBelle, giving us a look at what it really looks like as Hurricane Matthew continues to approach the area. He's in our breaking news tracker, which is essentially a live car that can show live pictures. We can show the inside of the car. He's in the passenger seat there. It can also show live pictures as we're driving, so we can see what the conditions are like throughout Southwest Florida as these bands of the storm start pushing through. So let's go over to Adam right now and see what he's seeing as he travels around Southwest Florida. Adam? All right, so it looks like we're going to have a little bit of an audio issue there with the breaking news tracker. We'll try and get Adam's audio fixed, and then we'll check back in with him. In the meantime, we're going to do a quick check of weather with Derek and see where Hurricane Matthew is right now. Derek?
All right, we're continuing to watch Hurricane Matthew right now, and as you can see, just spreading some rain across Southwest Florida. Again, showers, and again, it looks like right now most of the rain is on the light side. Again, the heavier rain is staying closer to the core of the storm. Here's a look at Storm Shield 4 Doppler, and there's the eye right there. You can see it's just kind of wobbling around, making a jog towards the north, and then going to be heading west here over the next several minutes. You can see this just kind of taking a stair-step pattern, just up and down, and this will continue as it makes its way closer to the coast. So even though you did see that west jog there, it's turned towards the north, we'll see it go back towards the west here likely over the next several minutes. You can see not much in the way of rainfall going on across the area, just some light rain through the Cape down towards Fort Myers and out around Gateway, and again some showers going on through sections of Collier County. So really it's not that bad out there, and we really don't anticipate it to get much worse than this. I think when the storm gets a little bit closer, the winds will pick up a little bit, but it really will not be that bad tonight for most areas. Now we are going to be tracking some potential for some heavier wind, though, especially as we get closer to Lake Okeechobee here for tonight, Glades, Hendry County. Again, the best chance for seeing the stronger winds tonight as the core of the storm gets a little bit closer. But as you can see now, the wind's out of the north at about 20 in Clewiston, so that's not too bad. 16 miles per hour in Punta Gorda, and the wind gusts not seeing any above 20 miles an hour at the present time. We had a wind gust in Naples last hour about 20 miles an hour. That has come down since from earlier today. You see the storm continues to track northwestward, just to the west of Freeport, at least right near Freeport in the western ports of the Grand Bahama. It's going to be headed due northwest. Looks like it's getting a little better organized here on satellite as well. The Hurricane Hunter's still flying around out there getting some measurements. The last measurement they got, pressure down to 935 millibars, that may be undergoing some strengthening. As you can see, our hurricane tracker basically showing what's going on here with the system. The track has not changed. It won't be updated until 11 o'clock tonight, but you get the idea that they're doing position updates now every hour to kind of give you an idea where it's headed. And right now, it's the last position, 26.4 degrees north, 78.8 degrees west, moving towards the northwest at about 13 miles per hour. Hurricane tracker right now basically showing the track getting very close to the coast here. Later on tonight, this is going to be an unprecedented event for the east coast of Florida, particularly for the Space Coast and the First Coast. There has not been a storm in modern times that has been this strong that's approached this part of the coast. So this is definitely something that we haven't seen before. It's going to certainly be interesting to see how it plays out. We hope that it's on the good side and we don't see much in the way of anything as far as a significant damage, but I think that is not realistic. I think this is going to be a very serious situation for a good chunk of the East Coast up here, where we're going to see Category 3, potentially Category 4 winds and a surge getting upwards of 9 to 10 to 11 feet. So that's going to be a bad situation up there. Hurricane warning continues in effect for most of the Florida coast, goes all the way down towards Broward County. We're still under a tropical storm watch, but right now I'm not anticipating sustained tropical storm force winds here in most of southwest Florida. The only chance of seeing that, I think, will be for areas closest to the core of the system as it gets closer to the Florida coast. That would be Highlands, Glades, and Hendry County. So if you live in Clewiston, if you live in LaBelle, if you live in Moorhaven, if you live in Palmdale, you have a chance for seeing sustained winds 40 to 50 when the core gets close to you tonight. And what we're thinking as far as timeline is concerned, after midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then gradually starting to calm down as far as the winds are concerned by the time we head to the mid-morning hours tomorrow as the storm begins lifting northward. Let me show you what's going on with the wind field. As you can see here, the yellow indicates the tropical storm force wind field. The red indicates the hurricane force winds. The hurricane force winds are concentrated in a very small area. The hurricane force winds only extend outward about 60 miles from the center. The hurricane force wind field actually has expanded a little bit from what it was earlier. So 60 mile an hour sustained winds, or at least 60 nautical mile hurricane force winds coming out from the center, and 185 miles from the center with the tropical storm force wind field. So that's what we're looking at here with the yellow coloring here basically showing the expansion of that tropical storm force wind field as it pushes inland. So those areas that I mentioned earlier, Highlands, Glades, Hendry County, have the best chance for seeing that, and then that's going to lift off towards the north. Things getting a lot better here by the time we head towards tomorrow afternoon. So again, the storm position here, this is just one computer model to just kind of give you an idea of what to expect. There's the eye right there, right along the coast. And you can see it's going to be getting close to West Palm Beach, and then it's going to basically track right up the coast here for later on tonight and tomorrow. So by midday tomorrow, this thing is going to be heading up towards Jacksonville. It'll be a long ways away from our area, and we're going to start to see the conditions improve. We'll still have some clouds around, perhaps a few showers, and certainly some winds out of the west and southwest. But things should definitely be getting much better here by tomorrow afternoon. This is a look at the winds, and you can see how the circulation associated with the hurricanes right up here, right around 3 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around Fort Pierce and getting down to West Palm into sections of Martin and St. Lucie County. And then notice the stronger winds indicated by the purples and the reds and the oranges here in the counties that I mentioned earlier, closest to Lake Okeechobee, closest to the East Coast and the track of the system. But farther west, we'll have some wind around. Potentially some gusts up to 30 as far west and southwest as Naples, but right now it looks like the strongest winds are going to be staying closest to the core of the system and the closest to the track, which is going to be on the other side of Lake Okeechobee. Tomorrow the winds start coming out of the west and southwest, and then more of a southwest wind as the system begins lifting northward here throughout the day. So overall, things are going to be improving here through the afternoon. So here's a look at your forecast here for tonight. Skies partly cloudy to mostly cloudy. We're going to continue to see a few scattered showers around the area. The winds are going to pick up a little bit too, especially as the storm gets a little bit closer. And then for tomorrow, cloud, sunshine, especially during the afternoon. We'll start the morning off cloudy with a few showers around, and then partly cloudy during the afternoon, a few isolated showers, and temperatures into the 80s. Here's that 7-day forecast for you one more time, and as you can see, things get a lot better for us here by the weekend. Cloud, sunshine, temperatures on Saturday and Sunday in the 80s, lighter winds, and then we'll be watching next week. Still some questions exactly what Matthew's going to do. There are some indications it could loop around. No, we don't expect it to be a hurricane, but we could, if it happens to come back our way, give us a chance for some showers early next week. Of course, there's plenty of time to watch that, and we'll let you know if anything changes. Amy?
All right, thank you, Derek. And we have crews throughout southwest Florida as well as on the East Coast as Matthew continues to approach the East Coast of Florida. One of them is our reporter, Adam Pinsker. He is with our chief photographer, Kurt Tremper, and our breaking news tracker. So he is in essentially a car that can give live pictures. Both we can see him, as you can see, and we can also, if they flip it, see the road and see the conditions throughout southwest Florida as the storm continues to approach. So I think we've got our audio issue fixed. Let's check in with Adam. What are you seeing out there tonight, Adam?
Yeah, Amy, we got those audio gremlins worked out. Just to let you know, I am not driving. Our chief photographer, Kurt Tremper, is driving. We just turned on to State Road 80, which becomes Palm Beach Boulevard. We're heading toward Fort Myers now, westbound. We're about 50 miles away. We just came off of US 27 from Moorhaven. And I got to tell you, everything is clear out here, very calm. We had some moderate rain earlier, but the sunset actually was pretty nice out here. We went over to the Moorhaven Lock to check out the lake. It is calm. There are about 30 people in an evacuation shelter at Moorhaven High School. They just had a bunch of pizza. Everything is calm there. They can accept a lot more people there. So if you are thinking of evacuating, as Derek said earlier, there could be some heavy winds out here later tonight. So now would be the time. We did see people coming into the high school as they were leaving. But really, the roads are almost desolate. Just one or two cars passing us. No strong winds. Just calm conditions right now. In fact, let me just show you. You can see the two-lane road, Highway 80, heading westbound toward Fort Myers, toward LaBelle. Very calm conditions right now. No signs of heavy wind or rain. And that's pretty much the situation out here as we're in the Breaking News Tracker Live. Adam Pinsker, Fox 4 in your corner.
All right, thank you so much, Adam. All right, as we continue to track Hurricane Matthew on air, we are online as well. I'm joined by Courtney Perna now, and she's been monitoring our social media accounts. We have our Twitter account going, obviously, but on Facebook, and we are live on Facebook right now, and people are asking a lot of questions. They want personalized answers.
They do have a lot of questions, and thankfully, Derek Lazy is going to answer those for us. First off, Shirley Sheldon and Abby Perez. They both have weekend plans. Abby's moving from Naples to Tampa. Shirley is planning a weekend in the Keys. So, Derek, do they have to worry about their plans? Are we going to be good to go this weekend?
Right now, it looks like plans for the weekend look fine. Weather should be just fine. Okay. We're going to have sunshine and temperatures into the 80s. So, really, it looks like the weather for this weekend for our area, beginning as early as tomorrow afternoon, will be fine.
Okay, and a couple of people wanted to know about this open air ring that looks like around the eye wall, and someone was asking about a double eye wall. Are those the same things?
Well, we call it concentric eye walls or double eye wall, and actually I'll go back to the radar so we can see this, and you can see that clearly it has this inner eye and it also has the outer eye. And what happens is a lot of times when these storms, they go through these structural changes. Hurricane dynamics are very difficult to understand, if you will. You know, meteorologists we're still doing studies on them and trying to figure out exactly how they happen, but there's a lot of inner workings here that are going on within these hurricanes that cause them to do this. But what you're basically seeing is the inner eye wall and the outer eye wall. A lot of times what will happen is the outer eye wall, once it starts to form, it chokes off the inner eye because the air flowing into the storm gets choked off by the outer eye, so the inner eye will collapse and then the outer eye will actually contract and form a new eye, and that's a lot of times when you'll start to get some strengthening. And you typically see these concentric eyes or these eye wall replacement cycles that we like to call them with the stronger storms, like what we're seeing right now with Matthew. So this is what we're going to be watching over the next several hours once it goes over the Gulf Stream, and to see what happens with the completion of this eye wall replacement cycle if we do happen to get a little bit more strengthening.
Derek, some viewers were noticing that it looks like the eye of this storm is larger than normal. Is it, or are we just kind of worried because it's so close to us?
I think it's the last report of this eye being about 8 nautical miles wide, at least the inner eye, and the outer one being about 50 to 60 nautical miles wide. So, you know, the hurricanes just have varying eyes. Charlie had a very small eye. I believe Charlie's eye was only about 3 or 4 miles wide. So it really depends on the system. A lot of times the very strong storms have those, what we call a pinhole eye. They're very, very small eyes, if you will. But really, it just depends on the storm. Some of them behave differently, and you know, you really just can't judge a storm based on its eye. But again, we're still watching this one to see what happens with it. If this inner eye wall ends up collapsing and this one ends up being the dominant eye, unless it contracts a little bit more, it'll end up being a pretty large one.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
And I know that when hurricanes, they can change at the drop of a drop of a hat, it seems. How worried are we about the projection of this hurricane switching it up on us?
Oh, you're talking about making that loop-through-loop back to Southwest
Well, yeah,
Florida?
people have been talking about that, of course. Is it going to come back around and hit Miami again?
Well, the weather patterns are kind of weird shaping up right now. We've got Nicole that's kind of doing loop-de-loops out there. By the way, Nicole's a hurricane now, so we've got 2 hurricanes in the Atlantic now. And Nicole is just kind of loop-de-looping and spinning around. But we're watching Matthew, the pattern shaping up next week, where it's going to go up through the north portions of Florida, through the Georgia coast, the South Carolina coast now, under a hurricane warning for Charleston. And then it's going to swing around, and as a weakened system, right now some of the computer models keep it offshore. Some of it do try to bring it close to Southwest Florida, or bring it through South Florida as a weakened area of low pressure. But right now there are no indications that this system is going to come around and Matthew's going to give us kind of an encore, if you will. We don't anticipate that happening at this point.
Good. And you mentioned Nicole out there in the Atlantic. I mean, some viewers on Facebook were asking, could they combine this big superstorm? Is there anything, is that even possible?
No, a lot of times, sometimes what will happen with these systems when you get 2 hurricanes out there, and they can do what's called the Fujiwara effect, where they'll just kind of dumbbell and swing around each other. That's happened before, but right now we don't anticipate any of the storms colliding into one big superstorm. We don't anticipate that happening.
Thank you, Derek. A lot of weather questions out there, and I'm so glad. I kept promising the viewers I will get Derek as soon as he has a breather so that I can get those kind of science questions answered for a lot of our viewers.
He's a busy man.
Some great photos, too.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, especially the sunset is going on. I mean, we are blessed over here on the Gulf side that we're not getting hit as hard. So the clouds, I think, that are rolling in are also making for some gorgeous photos and some rainbows.
Absolutely. And, you know, the big thing is we want you to help us with our coverage as well. You're out there, you're seeing this stuff, so take the pictures, get the videos, and you can put them on our Facebook page, you can tweet us, or you can even email us to news@fox4now.com.
That's right, and I'm keeping an eye on it.
All right, thank you so much, Courtney. We'll check back with you in just a little bit. All right, so Governor Rick Scott and, well, President Obama really declared a federal state of emergency for the state of Florida. He's also done the same for South Carolina. So that means they are really also watching for price gouging. It is illegal now for any businesses to jack up the price of essential items, things like water, plywood, hotel rooms, gas. In past hurricanes, we did see some businesses, a lot of gas stations in particular, really jacking up the price of gas, and that is illegal. So if you do see something like this, the state wants to hear from you. And the phone number is on your screen there. That's the number. An easy way to remember it is 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. That's 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. So if you're out and about, or perhaps you have some friends and family on the East Coast or evacuating and they're running into that, oh, wow, I'm shocked at how much this is. Again, you might want to call the scam hotline because it could be a case of price gouging, which they are trying to crack down on. Just want to update you on a few things. The city of Cape Coral closing all parks and rec facilities a little early tonight. So they're closing, well, they did close at 7 o'clock just about 45 minutes ago. The yacht club will remain open until 9:30 tonight to accommodate a scheduled event there. The city will determine the status of the facilities tomorrow morning, and of course we'll let you know when we get that information. We want to head back on over to the East Coast now. We have crews again all over Southwest Florida as well as on the East Coast. Alyssa Hyman is in Vero Beach, right there on the East Coast, hunkering down and talking to people who waited till last minute today to board up before Matthew hit.
Well, the winds really have started picking up here in Vero Beach, and I want you to take a look at the water over here. Look at how it's crashing up over here. This is basically near the seawall, and look how it's crashing up. Really, winds are picking up, but we did take a drive over the bridge, over to the ocean to give you one last look at the beach before the bridge is closed. I want you to take a look at some of the fresh video we just got. The winds are very strong over there, and while most everyone seems to have left, we also saw some pretty rough surf over there. I do want to mention that. While most everyone seems to have left the island and evacuated, we did find just a very few number of people, a few people who were out there taking one last look over there at the waves.
It's pretty bad, actually. I mean, I've never seen Florida waves look like that before in my life, and I've lived here for 7 years, so yeah, it's pretty rough. I mean, if you like surfing, it's not even good for surfing right now.
All right, I'm back out here live. You're looking at the water over here. We are in Vero Beach again. The winds are picking up. We're feeling a little bit of raindrops over here. The bridges seem to be open. I am going to make a call to see if and when they are closing. Remember, again, when the winds pick up to a certain point, they will close the beaches. That's why those evacuation orders for the barrier island are so crucial for people to follow. Here on this side, we have seen plenty of people evacuating. Most things are boarded up and empty, which is good. You are supposed to be gone if you live in a mandatory evacuation zone. We're going to keep you updated here. Reporting live in Vero, Alyssa Hyman, back to you.
All right, thank you so much. So again, as Derek showed us just a few minutes ago, Hurricane Matthew inching closer and closer to Florida as a Category 4 storm. That is a serious storm. Some forecast models that we've been looking at show the hurricane possibly again making landfall along the state's eastern coastline sometime late tonight into early tomorrow morning. And Derek has been telling us this has the potential for 140-mile-an-hour winds there near the eye and on the East Coast. 4 in Your Corner's Jason Lamb catching up with a couple of people who live on the East Coast, and they decided not to evacuate.
It may seem natural ahead of the strongest Atlantic hurricane in more than a decade.
It's going to be one of the worst since 2004.
To just want to leave. In fact, it's what safety crews are recommending. But in Melbourne Beach, Florida,
maybe we should take a lesson from the birds and get out of here.
It's in Amanda Azar and Tyler Jenkins' nature.
All right, so we're gonna sandbag
to stay put.
It's gonna be scary for sure. You know, watching the weather go down and everything around us.
With no prepared sandbags at any nearby store, they're loading up on self-reliance by the shovelful.
It's always dangerous. But I'd rather be at home with all my stuff to make sure it's taken care of as best we can.
You might be thinking to stay here with a storm as bad as what's coming, you might be crazy.
You might be right.
I was going to say, they might be right. You know, it's dangerous. It's very severe, very serious situation that we're in right now.
But with the threat of Matthew on the horizon, for some locals here, it's their first instinct to defend their home themselves. That's second nature.
All these strong winds you're seeing creating those high waves, and despite evacuation orders and no surfing warnings on the beaches, some people have been surfing. This is a scene in Lake Worth in Palm Beach County, just south of West Palm Beach. Derek was talking about those outer bands of Hurricane Matthew starting to impact parts of the Florida coast. Forecasters predicting winds of 100 miles an hour and even stronger in some coastal areas. That Category 4 hurricane has already caused widespread damage and flooding in Haiti and the Bahamas, claiming the lives of more than 100 people. And the governor said to people like these surfers today, he said, if you go out there and surf and swim in these waters, you are going to die as that storm gets closer, so keep it in mind. It bills itself as the happiest place on earth, and they happily take your money when you bring the kids. But now Disney World in Orlando, not an option tomorrow. They closed at 5 o'clock just about 3 hours ago, all because of Hurricane Matthew. That iconic theme park is going to stay closed tomorrow as well as this Category 4 storm approaches the Sunshine State. No decision yet from Disney about their operations on Saturday, but this does affect all of their theme parks. So the water parks are all closed tomorrow, Disney Springs, the miniature golf courses, ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex, and Disney has already been evacuating its Fort Wilderness campground as of tonight. Universal Studios in Orlando also going to be closing their theme parks early. They did it tonight. They'll stay closed tomorrow as well. This includes City Walk and Wet n Wild, and this is a big one. A lot of Southwest Floridians make the track for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. Canceled tonight and tomorrow night. The parks plan to resume normal operations on Saturday at Universal. Take a look at this line of traffic. This is I-4 in Orlando. A lot of people who live in this area evacuating to the west coast, fleeing before Hurricane Matthew gets even closer to Florida.
A little sports update for you because of the storm. The LSU Florida football game scheduled for Saturday in Gainesville has been postponed because of Hurricane Matthew. This was announced today. The university and the SEC says it will work to reschedule the game later in the season if it's possible. Before deciding to postpone the game, the schools and the SEC looked at other dates, other locations. They even looked at the stadium in Tampa Bay. LSU offered to actually travel or host the game over the course of the weekend, but ultimately it was decided to cancel the game. And if you are planning on watching the FSU-UM game on Saturday, I checked, and that game, as far as I'm seeing, is still on for Miami. So that's the latest on the sports updates there. The Army Corps of Engineers says Lake's water level, it has risen slightly since yesterday. It now sits just over 15 feet, which on a typical day is where the Army Corps likes it to be at or under. Officials say there's no need to worry, though, unless the lake reaches 17 feet. Meanwhile, a recent inspection of the Hoover Dike, a lot of concern from some of you on our Facebook Lives asking, what if, Hurricane Matthew comes close to Laco and damages the aging Hoover Dike? What's going to happen then? Well, the Army Corps of Engineers said that they looked into it. There's no concern, but should an issue arise, should something catastrophic happen, the Army Corps does have an emergency action plan in place. They will be conducting inspections also after the storm goes through potentially that area and to make sure that everything is good there.
Let's talk about the power. We've been reporting that widespread power outages are expected in South Florida once Hurricane Matthew really starts hammering the state. FPL expecting 2.5 million people to be affected by this hurricane, and officials with Florida Power and Light say they are ready to get to work. FPL has spent over $2 billion over recent years in an effort to make power restoration happen as quickly as possible. FPL has over 12,000 people ready to respond to any outages as they happen. FPL is going to be providing county-by-county outage updates every hour on its website. That's fpl.com/power tracker if you want to check it out. And if you need to report an outage, please call them directly at 1-800-448-8243. If the power does go out, that could be going a long time for some people, and that's when these things become oh so useful, the generators. They can get things up and running, but it's important to know how to operate these things safely to protect yourselves from the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning. It's killed people after storms in the past. First off, you never want to run a generator inside your home, definitely not even a garage, any enclosed area. Don't do it. You want to keep the generator about 20 to 25 feet away from your home. You also want to use a heavy-duty outdoor-rated extension cord, and always read that operator's manual. I know we're all smart. We think we don't need them, but you don't want to just use a generator right out of the box. So make sure that you read those directions, and you want to store any fuel for your generator in a secure area, but never keep that fuel inside. Make sure it is properly labeled, too.
Some of the images that are really making an impact so far today are the ones coming out of Haiti. It is devastated after the storm ripped through there. Initially, we were hearing that about 110 people had died in Haiti, but we're actually just getting word now that the death toll has sadly risen to 264. It could possibly go up from there. This, as Hurricane Matthew has gone through Haiti, it's just now going through the Bahamas, and then obviously it is heading toward the east coast of Florida. So again, the word from officials tonight is please, if you are in an area that's unsafe, get out, evacuate, and don't go to the beaches. Don't go out in this storm. We are going to continue our coverage of Hurricane Matthew. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You're watching Fox 4 News.